Hello, I want to tell you some things about me. Growing up, I was labelled as shy. And I don't know what that means for you, but I know what it meant for me. It meant that I was scared. I was scared of people. I was scared of them judging me and criticising me. I was scared of getting things wrong. Not only that, I was scared of my father's anger. Not that he really directed his anger at me. He seemed to just throw it out there. And I think he directed it more at my brothers. But I certainly knew where the strap was. I wasn't so scared of my mother, even though she was the one who strapped me when, at ages 7 and 8, and I was across the road playing with my friend. And if I got back a minute after 5 o'clock, I got the strap. But somehow or other that was different. My way of coping was to shut down and to hide, to leave situations. So I spent a lot of time outside, up in trees. Great when there were fruit trees, because I'd eat the fruit, like locusts. That was my way of coping back then. But then sometimes I couldn't always do that. So I could feel myself in some situations withdrawing into myself, being quiet, giving the impression of being calm when I wasn't inside. As I grew up, oh no, I won't say that. As I grew up, I got married, I had children. That was beautiful. I loved being pregnant. I loved having children. I had 5 pregnancies. Fourth one, only lived for 4 weeks. But I loved having young children. They were so open and curious and just in the present moment. And I loved that. And I loved supporting them. And I started reading the odd books. So my husband had been involved in the Theosophical Society. And so we used to go along to meetings for a while until I got sick of that. It was all academic. But I did like Krishnamurti's work. So I read his books. And that started me on wondering about life and about the meaning of life and what it was all about. And I read lots of other books over the years too. Eckhart Tolle, other people, lots of people you probably know about. I just can't remember the names of at the moment. And then I did lots of learning about human development, early childhood, human development, worked for 25 years with children with special needs as an early intervention teacher. And I was very lucky because the place I worked at, we had a staff training week, every year, the beginning of every year. And we did lots of learning about attachment, relationships, and what happened, the effect on children from their early relationships with their mother, particularly, and with other people close to them. So that helped as well with my experiences and learning about human development. And then one year I got sick. All my digestive system went haywire, irritable bowel and other stuff. And I got depressed. My body got depressed. I was trying to find a fix. So I was seeing a chiropractor who did other sorts of things at the same time. And one day he said to me, there's something you're not being accountable to yourself. And I said, well, I've been learning about the importance of emotions, and maybe that's an area that I need to delve into. And so I told him I had a pamphlet in my bag, been sitting there for a year, about the journey. So actually before I told him about the pamphlet, he asked my body a whole lot of questions. And then he said, have you heard of the journey? And I said, well, I've got this pamphlet in my bag. It's been there for 12 months. I hadn't done anything about it. So after that I did. I went to see a practitioner, and it was amazing. I didn't think I could sit still for 2.5 hours, but I did. It was such a great experience of delving into me and what was going on deep in the emotions. The next day, I remember when I was driving to work, I had all this joy bubble up. No reason, nothing produced it from outside, it just bubbled up. So then I decided to do the training. So there was a lot of trips to Australia, a lot of asking people that I could practice with, be case studies. I loved it all and went on to be a journey practitioner. And then I started following spiritual teachers, Gangaji and Eli Jackson Bear. They came to New Zealand in, I don't remember what year, 10 or 11 years ago, to Auckland. So I went to their weekend retreat up there. And no matter what was said or what went on, there was just this beautiful, profound silence that expanded. So much acceptance for everyone, for each person. So much love. Eli Jackson Bear had a school, the Leela School of Awakening. So after that, I enrolled. More trips to Australia. And the learning that happened there was amazing. It was just wonderful. I deepened in what was going on in me. And it was like the journey had been a stepping stone to this. This was so much deeper, so much more direct. In a short time, less than an hour, I could be so deep inside in the deepest silence. It was so good. And it wasn't always pleasant. I had to face being worthless. I had to face self-hatred. That was really black. And I felt myself just draining away when I really faced that into the very depths of me. But all of this was also built on my experience in India. I had been to India 4 times. 2 of those times were with journey events, and 2 times were with small groups organised by someone else. The first was a pilgrimage of 3 weeks where we visited spiritual places, and that was so great. It was amazing. And I got sick, and at the end of it, when I got home, I vowed I was never going there again. But I did, because not long after that, maybe 6 months, I had this yearning to go again. On the last 2 occasions, we went to the top of the sacred mountain, Mount Aranuchala, and I learnt lessons on that mountain, lessons that have stayed with me ever since. On one of those trips, I also went and sat in one of the caves on my own that Sri Ramana Maharshi had sat in for years. I sat in the most innermost cave, right inside this beautiful mountain. And I asked the question, how do I let go of all this stuff that is limiting me and getting in the way? I sat in the silence, and the answer came, there is nothing to let go of. It was beautiful. It was true. Of course, later my mind jumped in and said, well, what does that mean? But it was a relief, and I knew it was true. So, coming to the present day, I love seeing people who want to investigate what's going on in them. I see people who come with issues like anxiety, people pleasing, trauma responses, addictions, overthinking, stuck emotions, physical pain. And it might seem that there's an awful lot of things for me to look into, but actually it is always so beautiful because when people are with me, they can be totally honest about what is going on. And I'm not going to judge anything they say or have done or do. The beautiful thing about it is that people get to realise that that stuff, those issues, is not who they truly are. I will guide them. I will guide you deep inside you, where you can experience what is deep inside you. And so, either then or later, at any time, you can have awakening experiences, which can take place in a moment, where everything stops and you realise the truth of your being, the truth of life, the truth. Do come and see me.